I always want to say this before we start is you have always been so kind to me with interviews and opportunities to chat with you. And I just appreciate your work ethic and who you are. So my gosh, thank you so much for this time today.
Oh, well, the pleasure is mine. And indeed, I was going to say the same to you, because over the years, you've always been so encouraging and supportive. And in a world filled with cynics and unkind people,
Well,
I always so appreciate, your joyfulness and really just your encouragement.
I'm going to cry now. There we go. There's the interview. First of all, congratulations on the new book, Unexpected Blessings. The last book, Box of Butterflies, did so well. What prompted you to go into another book?
Well, I had such a cathartic experience writing Box of Butterflies, to be honest. It started off really as a small book idea, a kind of spiritual memoir, if you will. And the fact that it went on to become a New York Times bestseller, probably nobody was more surprised in the world than I was that people would be interested enough to read my story. But I think it resonated because I think when you're willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable and to share your story, warts and all, that people, I think, recognize just the sincerity of that, because I was really just trying to take stories from my life, real things that had happened to me and real loss that I had experienced, and what I had learned from that, and to share it in such a way that maybe it would be useful or helpful or comforting to somebody else. And so those were the kinds of, that was the kind of feedback I got from people, particularly people who'd experienced some kind of grief, whether it was loss through death of a loved one, or a broken heart through, a divorce or a breakup, or, people have lost their jobs. So in different ways, we all experience heartbreak. And, I just leaned right into it in that book, and just sort of shared ways of coping, offering like little tools, ways of being in the world. And so A Box of Butterflies was the tree. Its small title was Box of Butterflies, Discovering the Unexpected Blessings All Around Us. So this book, Unexpected Blessings, is really just taking a deeper dive into what those unexpected blessings might look like, because sometimes they can just be the smallest things, but when we have eyes to see and ears to hear, we realize, that everything's a blessing, really. One of the poems, Tommy, that I have loved, and a poet that I have just read her books and loved her books for many, many years, is a poet called Mary Oliver. And she has a poem, and I'm sure I'll paraphrase it badly here, but it was something along the lines of, somebody once gave me a box of darkness, and it's taken me till now to realize that this too was a gift. And, and I started really reflecting on that, like, how could a box of darkness be a gift? And yet anybody out there, like myself, who has gone through loss and learned from it and survived, we survive things that we in the moment think we'll never be able to survive. We think this pain hurts so much, I'll never be able to overcome this pain or this loss. And yet somehow we do, we rise and we rise again. And that it's only maybe sometimes when you're through it that you can look back and see that even within that there was a blessing, that there's always some good that can come out of everything. And this book really is about encouraging people to look for those things, to look for the blessings. And in my experience, the more you look for them, the more you find them. It's a little bit like the more you say thank you, the more you have to be grateful for.
I think we have to train ourselves to do that, to look for the little things, and to understand that, the rain, you may hate the rain, but there's a benefit to it, just as there's a benefit to the obstacles that we hit in our life. It helps us grow. It helps us overcome the bigger things yet to come.
That's right. That's right. And and it's also, I think we can train ourselves too, to not even see obstacles as obstacles. I'm thinking of business now. When things come in that are challenging, in my film and television, that part of my career, I always try to think of them as opportunities. That they're opportunities for growth. That when things come in and they're harder, and you have to really, really look to find the solution for something. Again, many, many blessings and benefits come from that. So we all have come through this extraordinary few years with COVID, and more time spent in reflection. I think, I have a lot of friends who've also shared that even though it's been awful, and not to minimize the time at all, and not to minimize how bad it has been for any number of people who got very sick and people who lost their lives. But for those of us that were fortunate enough to get through it without extreme illness, we just found ourselves, at home, working from home, in closer connection to, our immediate family and friends. And I found there was just such a blessing in that, because you can get so caught up in the busyness of business, and you can just get so caught up in all of that, that you're not really present in your life, and so I found that this few years has really helped me to just sort of plant myself in the here and the now. And I love to get up. Anybody that follows me on Instagram will know that I am completely obsessed with the sunrise and the sunsets. I just love that, the kind of in between times of any day. And so I'm usually up at sunrise, and that's when I do my writing. I have my morning prayer, I do a little workout, and then I sit down, and I'm old fashioned. I sit down usually with a pen, and just kind of jot things down at first. And so I've written this book really in the hopes it'll be a kind of daily devotional for people. It's I have a quote or something that has touched me, opens each chapter, and then a scripture, and then a reflection on perhaps how the two might tie together, or as expressed through some personal anecdote. And then I end up with a little prayer, and I'm, it's a simple little book. It's not some lofty literary work, but it's written from my heart. And I really hope that it blesses someone out there. Like my other book, I think even if it's not for you, it might be a lovely gift book for somebody, and it's coming out at the Easter season and just before Mother's Day. So I think there's a gift giving opportunity, but it's really just to remind people just to take time. I want to be a light worker. The world has a lot of darkness, and through the gifts that I've been given, if there's some way that we can add a little bit of light, a little bit of hope, a little bit of entertainment, does it elevate? Does it encourage? Does it educate? These are questions we ask ourselves as we're selecting what shows to develop, what movies to produce.
I think there are moments where you're producing wonderful parables. We call them movies, but there's stories to make us learn and make us think.
Yes, well, I think that the media can be really used to shine a light in things that things people don't know about. When my husband and I decided to make the Bible back in 2013, and as I know, we spoke about that then, but we were told, by friends and colleagues that we were crazy to do such a thing, that nobody apparently was interested in the Bible and that nobody would watch. Well, of course, we know now that when it ran its run on history, that over 100 million people tuned in, and that was just in America. So that was an opportunity to bring the stories of the Bible alive for people, many people who didn't know the Bible at all. You know, it wasn't just for the faithful. There were people who, you know, came in because it's, you know, it was great stories, well told, great characters, you know, great battles, great costumes, like a little bit of history as well. So that was really, you know, a very fun time for us. I can't believe it's already, you know, almost 10 years ago since we did that.
We followed that up with Son of God, which was the #1 faith-based movie opening, I think, of all time.
Yes, it did ever so well. And then I don't know if you had a chance last year to see, but we made a movie called Resurrection, and but it had its run on the Discovery Plus streamer, and it had the highest ratings that weekend of anything they had on there. So clearly people are very interested in stories from the Bible when they're well done. You know, I think in the past maybe sometimes filmmakers of faith stepped up to bat, and maybe they, you know, they didn't bring an excellent game. And I think that audiences, whether they're faithful audiences or regulars audiences, you know, everybody expects excellence. There's a lot of great content out there, and you know, if you're coming in to the arena, you need to be coming in with content that's excellent, because people are sophisticated. You know, they know good from bad.
You also produced Messiah on Netflix, which you know, I was part of you know, doing the promotion for that with Michelle Monaghan and Bo Bridges, and the cast was just amazing. And what an incredible look at religion and what people choose to believe and what they're led to.
Yeah, it was a very provocative piece, I think, and it started a lot of great conversations. I was very disappointed personally that Netflix didn't pick that up and continue. We had a great second season already outlined, and the first few scripts already written. But you know, listen, you throw a lot of spaghetti on the wall and only some of it's going to stick. But I think it was such a good show. It was very well done. Michael Petroni is an amazing writer and showrunner, and you know, it just, you know, it holds up. So we were very proud of that piece.
Do you like being a producer? Is that over being an actress?
I do. I think at this stage of my life, you know, in this season of my life, I like finding the material and then sort of you know, chaperoning it through development and seeing it improve, and then you know, looking for where we might make it, or how we're going to get the money, or who we're selling it to, or and then I love overseeing casting. You know, I have such compassion and love for actors, having been one myself for many years. I always feel for them when they come in to audition for me, and I know exactly what's going through, you know, their minds, and I always try to put actors at rest and so on. And I always try to remind them, like, it can be so arbitrary. You know, we've cast the guy, and now we're looking for a redhead, or we're looking for, you know, and you come in and you're a blonde. You know, I mean, it can just be, it's not that you're not good, but it's so hard for actors to get rejection. You know, I mean, for every yes I heard, I'm sure I heard 100 no's in my life, you know.
Russell Crowe once told me that actors are professional auditioners, and we only stop auditioning when you get a part, and then you go back to auditioning.
Yeah, no, I know that's what, you know, that's what we do. And there's just so much rejection involved. And, you know, I'm quite soft-hearted. And the challenge I always found was, how do you keep your soft heart, but develop the thick skin that you need to deal with that, you know, because in anybody, in a regular person's life, you know, maybe you're rejected half a dozen times your whole life, you know, maybe you get turned down romantically, maybe you get fired from a job, you know, but it's not an everyday occurrence. But for the actor, you know, if you're auditioning regularly, you could be turned down every day of your life. And, you know, that can be hard. It can be hard on your spirit.
As a single mom, I want to make sure my kids have healthy teeth. Going to the dentist can be expensive. Just a simple cleaning can cost over $100. Then I found TDA, and for about $1 a day, Total Dental Administrators covers my family on over 200 dental procedures. Whether you're an individual, a family, self-employed, or retired, your acceptance is guaranteed for one of these policies. Call or click for your free information kit and see how affordable dental health can be.
Sometimes we can do things that exclude others.
You still talking to your friends?
It's complicated.
I think he went back in. We gotta go get him.
Welcome to Jumanji.
Even the smallest words and actions can have a big effect on someone.
You have the skills.
Because of you, someone's entire day, their year, or their life can change.
Remember, the future is in your hands.
Visit becauseofyou.org to learn more.
Totally, let's do it.
I want to take you back to 1989 and the Broadway show The Circle, because you worked with Rex Harrison. You worked with Stuart Granger and Glennis John.
Yes, I know. Gosh, what an all-star cast that was. They were oldies but goodies. And I had actually been in a production of Arms and the Man at the Roundabout Theatre, and we had just done a matinee. But I'm in my dressing room and the stage manager comes in and he said, Rex Harrison is here to see you. And I was sure he was making it up. I mean, what was Rex Harrison doing coming into my dressing room? I wouldn't have known me from Adam. And the next thing, sure enough, he walked in. He said, I have a role in mind for you. It's the ingenue role of a production that I'm putting together to take out of town with a view of bringing it into Broadway. And I'd like you to come to my office Monday and meet. Would you? And I was like, oh, would I ever? I was like, yes. And so I booked the role, and it was such an experience working with the three of them. I mean, talk about an education, particularly with Rex, because his comic timing was just, unrivaled. The way he was able to coin a phrase, or he just, a technical approach to it, which I didn't have. He would say sometimes to me, he said, I think if you say that line and then count, 1 elephant, 2 elephant, 3 elephant in your mind, and then say the next line, he said, I'm sure there's a laugh there. And so we're on the stage. I can't remember the line, but I just remember being on the stage and said my first line and then counted my 3 elephants in my head and said the second line. And there was a huge laugh from the audience. And when I stepped out into the wings to go change my costume for the next scene, he was sitting in the wings and he nodded and he just stood up and he said, you see? And the lessons just continued to unfold. But I've just really committed myself to try to live my life in gratitude.
Touched by an Angel, it has touched so many people. And will there ever be a revisit to those characters, do you think?
I had certainly wished so. A few years ago, I myself went over to CBS just to see, because it belongs to CBS. It doesn't belong to me, of course, or I would have already jumped right into it. And maybe I finally could have played the, more of the Tess role that Della played so well. I mean, I'd have to be different because I have a different energy. She was certainly one of a kind, but they didn't seem to, be that interested. So, I continued to look for an Angel show. I feel like, there's got to be one out there, or a writer of one out there that we could continue to use the angels as bridges of peace and so on. But what a time. It was such a special time up there in Salt Lake City. And Della and John Dye and Valerie, and the whole team. It was, I have the fondest memories. And as you know, I remained very, very close with Della right through to her final days. Actually, it was a great privilege to be with her at the end of her life. But
she was a great mentor to you.
She was a mentor and a mother to me. My mother had died when I was young, and she really had stepped into that role so lovingly. And then her only daughter had died while we were filming together, and she took me in her arms not long after that, and she said, baby, God is so amazing, because I always knew that he brought me into your life because you needed a mother. But I didn't realize he was bringing you into my life because I was going to need a baby girl. Can I tell you? I mean, it takes a village to make a TV show, you know? I mean, Della and I were out front, so we got the glory, but, you know, there were people working very hard, working very long hours, pouring, you know, their life's blood into making this series. And everybody believed in the higher purpose of the show as well, you know, that it was really touching people's lives, that it was really, you know, healing, that it was comforting. Because it took a very simple message that there is a God, that he loves us and that he wants to be part of our lives. And, you know, most of us all were believers. So that message rang loud and true for each of us. But it was at the very center of that show as well, there was a strong message of hope.
I adore you, and I am so grateful in my life that I count you as one of my dear friends, and you have always been there when I've asked, and you can't say more about friendship than that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
It all goes back to Rex Harrison telling us to count. One elephant, two elephant, three elephant before.
That's right.
Laugh.
That's great advice. It's great advice for just about anything, right?
Maybe everybody just needs to wait for the laugh.